What's up, guys? I'm here at the airport right now. I'm waiting for my flight. I got a couple of hours. So I figured to do this clip now before I get to Jamaica and get super busy and sidetracked with everything else. I just wanted to touch on TJ Dillashaw's retirement. And of course, I want to say there's no animosity on my side. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not going to like a cheater no matter what. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to achieve the same thing, the same goals, which he has done. And it's a very tough sport. You know, I understand people make these decisions that could sometimes ultimately affect their body in the long run. So with that being said, I understand that some people might take extreme measures to try to accomplish these goals. Even though he accomplished it before, trying to accomplish it again, I understand that. But at the end of the day, I don't support it. But one thing I will say that I do support is that Conor McGregor has seemed to have found a loophole that has helped people in terms of, if you have a catastrophic injury, to be able to recover and get back to a norm, which would be something that we would love to have outside of fighting. So when we're done fighting, we have something that we can go back to, some kind of a baseline. We're gonna be beaten up, the head damage is already gonna be done, but physically, if I can walk properly, if I can have my shoulders go above my head and things like that, I don't see any problem with that. So with that being said, I support TJ on this endeavor. I don't know if he's fully retiring. I do think he's just looking to get out of the testing pool so that he could do these things to get back to 100% as he can. I think he's a little crazy, and that even with the time off, because I know it might be like 2 surgeries, they said, one after the other, in order for him to get back to a regular baseline. So with that being said, I do think it's, in my opinion, it's okay. You know, I want the guy to be able to play with his kids. I want him to be able to wrestle with them if he can at that age, and not be limited because of the injuries that he's sustained through training, sustained through fights, and even if it was some bad decision making with PEDs and stuff like that in his past time, in his past career, earlier career, whatever you want to call it. I don't ever want to see somebody mangled, you know? So kudos to him. I support it 100%. And guys, I'm a competitor. If he comes back and he wants to fight again, guess what? I'm going to be here. So I know some people were saying like, oh, it's kind of like you're low for calling him out. I'm like, dude, I supported the guy. I said I want him to have a high quality of life. And I could want the same things. I could still want to punch him in the face when he comes back, and if he wants to try to get even, we can run it back, man. I'm going to be here. At the end of the day, we're both competitors, and this is what we get paid to do. So with that being said, TJ, heal up, speedy recovery. I know Anthony Smith was even talking about Conor McGregor and his knee break and needing to do PEDs to get back. I don't know if you could necessarily call it PEDs if it's looking to just get you back healthy, you know? I don't think his 2 breaks with his and Conor's, I don't think they were the same. The same way I don't think his knee to the head was the same as my knee to the head from Petr Yan. So I think sometimes Anthony Smith could sometimes get ahead of himself saying some things to almost feel self-righteous. And I like Anthony. I have no issues with him. I just think that sometimes he gets ahead of himself. He starts saying some things that I don't always agree with. And I think sometimes he just says it just to either be controversial or maybe he actually does believe these things. So for him to think that his knee break, his leg break was the same as Conor is crazy. For him to use Weidman in there when Weidman had the worst knee break out of all of them is crazy. For him to compare his knee to the head compared to my knee to the head is even more crazy. But yeah, again, just going back to TJ, I support it. I know Cub Swanson chimed in saying like he never had to do some stuff when he broke something back in like high school or something like that. But personally, I don't really care about that whatsoever. So with that being said, if it's about your health, your post-fight career, I fully support it. Any athlete, as long as we're not toeing the line and going full Liver King and telling people that we're getting these gains from our ancestral tenets and eating cow testicles and all kinds of crazy shit. So TJ, heal up, speedy recovery. Wish you nothing but the best. And I hope you have a speedy recovery. I really do mean that. And if you do decide to grace the octagon with your presence again and your skill set, and you do want to try to get even with me, I'm going to be right here. You know, so hopefully I'm still at 135 because I know it's going to be a long road of recovery for you. And if anyone can understand that, it's myself. I had a labrum tear back in 2008 or 2009, one of the two, something like that. And it got progressively worse. I fought 7 pro fights like that. I'm not even going to count the amateur fights. I fought 7 pro fights like that. I got through it, but eventually got to the point of no return, and I had to get the procedure done in 2013. And I did think my career was over. And with that thinking that my career is over, I'm glad that I was able to bounce back and get to a point where I was able to compete for the world again. So maybe not as extreme as TJ's, and I I'm conscious enough to recognize that his is probably a lot worse, especially being that he had surgery on it before. The labrum head is a very small tissue that goes around the humeral head bone, and it goes around the ligament, and it's not much. So when you tear the labrum, I don't know what else he actually tore in there. Probably tore everything. It's just a nasty injury, man. So when you think about the little ligament that holds that humeral head in the socket, yes, I'm an anatomy major. Well, PD major. I took AP1 and AP2, so I have a little bit of experience on this stuff in terms of understanding the human body, and it's just a big procedure for him to get back from. So hopefully he takes his time, does all the things that he can do to help speed up his growth, especially at his age. He's going to need some extra help with that, and I fully support it again, and I hope he gets back to as close to 100%, even if he doesn't come back to compete. I don't wish this on any of my colleagues or potential opponents or past opponents. Quality of life is everything, especially in a sport like this. You get older, you realize, yeah, you might have a little bad blood, but at the end of the day, I still want people to enjoy their lives and their time with their family. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in Jamaica. Funk out.